new offensive coordinators where the offense is performing so far. So these are teams that are top 15 in success rate. And I have a few here that some people probably would be like, are they performing? But remember, this is a 2-week sample size, so we got to group them somewhere. Okay, number 1 is Brian Schottenheimer, play calling head coach with Clayton Adams as the offensive coordinator. Dallas is 12th in offensive success rate. John Morton, new offensive coordinator, 6th for the Detroit Lions there. Josh Grizzard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're 13th in offensive success rate. Kevin Patullo, Eagles, 11th in offensive success rate. Tanner Engstrand, New York Jets, 14th in offensive success rate. Nate, is there a team on this list that despite the statistical success so far, you're kind of like, I'm a little skeptical about what they've been putting out there on the field?
The Eagles is a pretty easy one to pick at.
Screaming at red. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But they're the Enron team, man. They're too big to fail. It's just kind of one of those things where it's very frustrating right now watching this team and seeing what the passing game looks like. Was talking about Sunday night was Hurts, only had a few passes. I would say 5 pass attempts past 10 air yards. And really the stat is he hasn't thrown a single pass between 10 and 20 yards. So all that discussion about hospital balls and throws over the middle, don't even have to worry about it with the Eagles offense because they literally haven't thrown a single one this entire season. And that's where yak comes from. That's where big plays come from. The Eagles usually are going to be an outside emphasis team as far as throwing the ball because Hurts likes it. AJ Brown can win. Devontae Smith can win. But there's just no explosiveness with this offense right now, passing game wise. And the run game is the run game. Like it's always going to be an efficient run game that finds its way in a run game. I think they're second in success rate right now, only behind the Colts, by the way, who have a rushing success rate above 50% right now, which is freaking crazy. But no, I do think that's always going to be the strength of this team. The offensive line, Saquon Barkley pounding the rock. But I think the passing game, they're getting some heat right now. Like, and I think it's deservedly so. Like, as far as like, there's a lack of production. The eye test is matching that as well. There's just a lack of just anything going on, whether it's efficiency or explosive plays. Hurts the scrambling pretty well. Like, I will say that, but it's just that you just kind of feel that even if you just if you're watching the Eagles for the first time ever, I think you just go, oh, that's a run first team, and a team maybe that's just a passing game finding its way, which I think any AJ Brown owners are pretty frustrated right now, as he is probably is right now.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know what. It's funny. They've been like the meme of the team that you could have possibly expected this year, where I thought
it's like they just distilled it down and crystallized it into like, hey, this is usually our week 14 timeline. Let's do it in 2 weeks. We're not even into October and we're already having and they're 2-0 by the way, because they're always going to have complaints when they're like 10-1, like 12-2. And then like the turmoil happens. Yeah. Let's just do it 2-0.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, we went through this storyline last year. Remember before that Steelers game where Jalen Hurts like, is that what y'all wanted to see? And it's like, yeah, brother, that is what we knew we wanted to see. By the way, how'd you win that Super Bowl? You threw firebombs all over the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Like, yeah, but I mean, it's perfectly, shown by that little exchange that he had with Chris Jones that was caught on mic when they were kneeling down, and Chris Jones is giving him crap for saying, you didn't even have 100 yards in the game. And Jalen Hurts said, we won the effing game. Shut up. Like that's the Eagles, man. And that's kind of where I'm
the argument online.
Literally. Exactly. So I don't know. I do think that it's disappointing because I feel like I say this every offseason that like I come away from charting AJ Brown for reception perception. I'm like, oh my God, he should have like 2,000 yards last year. Mm-hmm. And it's just because the pass volume for every team he's ever been on, obviously injuries as well. But yeah, I mean, I think at some point they are going to probably need to they paid this guy, $30+ million a year. You probably want to throw him the football a little bit more. I still think he just didn't look great in week 1. I think there was probably just something going on there besides the fact of like all that zone coverage. Like that's an excuse to me. Like that. Yeah. Please, we're talking about the best receiver in the league, and like, oh, they played one of the best receivers in the league, and they played zone coverage against him. That's an excuse to me. I don't. Yeah, and whatever. Anyone could disagree with me. He can disagree with me. I think that was an excuse. Week 2, like it gets a little bit more involved, but he doesn't have to. Crazy to say, but you don't have to do that much to beat this version of the Kansas City Chiefs, especially when you have the Eagles defense on the other side of it. But do you think there's been any kind of drop off from Kellen Moore to Kevin Patullo at all, just from like what they're doing execution, or not even execution wise, just like preparation, like approach design wise in the passing game at all?
Yeah, well, and just overall design. You've probably worked with me enough. You always kind of know what one of my canary in the coal mines is for a poor offensive design, right? Bad tight end blocking, a very good edge player. Yeah, I'm seeing that in the Eagles offense a little too much for my liking. There's a weird personnel. There's tendencies as well. Heavy run tendency when they're under center, heavy pass tendency under shotgun. It kind of just feels like a first-time play caller. Like that's what it really feels like. And he's taking over a Ferrari, and this guy just got his license. Like that's really what it feels like. He doesn't know every toggle. He doesn't know every switch. He doesn't know how to change gears. Like there's no kind of flow with it. And you could tell it's the classic, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, run the ball, which is what I would recommend anyways with this team. But like, shoot, I mean, the first and scramble rate right now, I think Hurts is scrambling almost 20% of the time. 10% is a ridiculous rate. So that usually shows, okay, stuff's not getting open. Quarterback's not trusting it. Chiefs right now too, the high scramble rate as well. But also it just seems like what those tells, that's really indicative of stuff. What are they? They're 30th in explosive play rate. They have 2 explosive receptions this entire year, 32nd in explosive pass rate. 4.2% of their passes have gone for an explosive play. Hurts isn't throwing the ball deep, which is one way to get explosive passes. And Yak is the other way to get explosive passes. And I believe they're 31st or 32nd in yak per completion right now. So to me, 31st. So where are the big plays coming from? Otherwise, it's just going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. That's a great set that they have right now on the YouTube show, like where you're just seeing the A dot, where it's just like it feels that way, where it's just like he's not attacking deep and they're not doing the things that are going to create the big plays. It just feels very static. It's already an offense that doesn't use a lot of motion because that's what Stoutland, the offensive line coach, and Hurts, the quarterback, prefer. So it's a little concerning to me because it's like, okay, where the idea is coming from stuff. And I already know what some of the weaknesses of this personnel are. They got banged up injuries on the offensive line. So the offensive line may have taken a quarter step back, but it's still good. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those where I'm just like, it's a little sour right now. And I'm trying to figure out what they're going to get to. Because every time Nick Sirianni's taken over play calling, it's not gone well. So that's very, very concerning. They haven't turned the ball over. They're one of the fewest penalized teams, period. Like it's just all these things. Those are usually like, oh, that's what's derailing it. For me, it's pretty obvious why it feels so tight. They need big pass plays, and to me, it's chucking that ball deep or finding some way to create yak, and that's always interesting because considering the quarterback who doesn't like to throw the ball over the middle.
It's funny you mentioned the just the overall like the tight end lack of blocking there, and yet this year they're using tight ends.
Yes.
So much.
That's
more.
What I mean.
Okay, right?
Like,
yeah. So far, they're despite the fact that Dallas Goedert missed last week's game.
Yeah,
they're 5th in 12 personnel. They are 13 personnel. They're 5th as well. 23 personnel. They're 1st among personnel on rushing plays, which is again. Yeah. It's a little weird. And like, they've got a pretty decent 3 receiver set. Like, I think Jahan Dotson's had a couple nice moments. I always got to talk about Super Bowl champion Jahan Dotson has had a couple nice moments here. But even just some of the stuff that you mentioned, like, of course they're never going to be, one of those like crazy, motion teams because of Hurts and Jeff Stoutland and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But with Moore, they've only done it 7 dropbacks so far this year. And by the way, they're 7 for 7 in terms of completions on those dropbacks. And motion at the snap.
I bet you it's all
last year they had
something too. It's probably no true dropbacks either. That's actually you just gave me a little kernel of an idea to look at.
Something like that. Yeah, no, not like a true dropback. But last year, according to Fantasy Points data, they had motion during the snap on 94 dropbacks overall, which was 25th in the league, but they were 31st in total dropbacks. So like and that's Kellen Moore stuff. By the way, we talk about that's what's going on in New Orleans to kind of help this fantasy scam offense. There's all that pace and motion and stuff like that. And I think Moore did a good job of adjusting, like meeting Hurts, I think, more than halfway, because this offense just kind of always turns into the Jalen Hurts offense. But there was at least like, hey, let me do the little bells and whistles here and there. And I think that from the passing game standpoint, it did help the efficiency. Now we have like no volume or efficiency in this passing game. And they're 2-0. They're probably not going to change their stripes. But I think that's part of the reason why, like, of all the top level receivers that are, underperforming right now, I think the guy that I'm most concerned about is definitely AJ Brown. Not because of AJ Brown or any of that stuff, but just because this is who the team wants to be. This is who they've always been. Yep. They're leaning into it even more now. And I think the offense feels more, I think the offense feels more 2023 Eagles than it does Shane Steichen or Kellen Moore's Philadelphia Eagles.
I agree. It's more, and I know Eagles fans and I have a great relationship, but it's one of those but I watch it, I really do. And I'm like, this is, like you said, the 2 years ago thing when Brian Johnson was, the coordinator, which was handpicked by Jalen Hurts. And then all of a sudden Brian Johnson's no longer there. I think, where is he now? He's in Baltimore or Washington?
With Washington, actually. He's the passing game coordinator.
Yep. And then, but when I'm watching this, like, it really just doesn't feel like they're like, okay, we're just going to, it's a very simplistic scheme right now. And you mentioned the Jalen Hurts offense stuff. And I thought, no, this is a great shout out to Kellen Moore. I thought Kellen Moore did a great job last year of kind of merging what that works for them and just doing his little wrinkles on top of the stuff. But it just, feels very static. It feels very just at you, like, as far as like, we're just going to outperform you talent wise, as opposed to maybe just we're popping open this scheme. So it's just, if Eagles fans are frustrated, AJ Brown fans are frustrated overall, I think it's justifiable, but it's one of those where I am a little more concerned about what the growth of this can be. Again, they're too good to fail outright, but maybe it's just not going to be that top 8, top 10-ish offense that maybe I thought they would be this year.